Hello everyone, wherever you are around the world, welcome to Grand Prix Nashville 2012. It's time for the final. Lisa Jensen, gone. Carl Babin, gone. Robbie Cordell, gone. Shuhei Nakamura, gone. Josh Utter-Layton, gone. Caleb Durwood, gone. That leaves Todd Anderson and Reid getting ready to go in the very last match of the weekend. So welcome along. Delighted to say that Ben Swartz is with me, your host Rich Hagan, here in the commentary box, getting ready for all the action. So Ben, what's the matchup?
The matchup is between Reid Duke and his blue-red aggressive deck, playing against Todd Anderson in his black-green-white, mainly green-white deck. So here we get a look at the players, and looks like Todd starts things off with a turn 1 Blazing Torch.
Nothing to do with it just yet, but Blazing Torches just kind of sit there waiting to get, for literally the torch to be passed, one might say. Deranged Assistant is the opening play of the 2012 Nashville final for Reid Duke, who is undefeated this weekend, much as Richard Parker of England was when winning GP Lille a few weeks ago.
But there's really been the important card of both the tournament and for Todd Anderson in this top 8, Lingering Souls, putting 2 1/1 flying spirit tokens to play for him. Hopefully he'll be able to flash that back if he gets access to his black mana later in the game.
He's got 2 swamps?
I believe he does have 2 swamps.
Okay.
And an Evolving Wilds, if memory serves.
Right, so functionally 3.
And we saw Todd use Lingering Souls to great success in the last match against Josh Utter-Layton, and he actually used it to great success against Shuhei Nakamura in the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm. Reid will lay land number 3, so he's access to 4 mana, but right now he's passing the turn.
From what I've seen of Reid's deck, he has quite a few 5-drops. He's got 2 Murder of Crows, a very, very powerful 4/4 flyer.
Yep.
If he's able to get one of those 2 down, those are likely to be able to keep the spirit tokens at bay. And that's one of the things we've seen throughout the top 8 is the importance of flyers in this format, and in Limited in particular.
Todd gets in for 2, first damage of the match. And with 3 mana, he will run out the Villagers of Estwell double-face card. Reid will decide to activate his Deranged Assistant in order to get the 4th mana, so that's Bone to Ash, counter it, and draw a card.
Bone to Ash is an interesting card. Usually when your opponent passes with 4 mana up, you should be suspicious about something. But Reid here with Deranged Assistant might be a little tricky. Maybe Todd didn't expect the Bone to Ash, but here we go. Murder of Crows for Reid Duke, 4/4 flyer.
So just what you were asking for Reid. So Todd finds his swamp, so that then sets up Lingering Souls flashback.
But these 1/1 flyers aren't really doing too much against the 4/4 flyer from Reid Duke.
And I guess that's where a card like Travel Preparations comes to the fore. Todd does have 2 of them, so there's the potential to get some serious things going there. So it's getting very quiet in here, I can tell you. So
unfortunately, the players have been able to hear us, so we're going to try to be a little more quieter.
Yeah, we're
for you guys.
A very, very long way away from them, but obviously the acoustics in here, now that the very large venue is almost empty, it's getting to the point where people can hear.
So let's see what Todd ends up doing with his turn, whether or not he wants to flashback Lingering Souls, maybe cast another creature. Ooh.
So there we are with the first of the Travel Preparations.
Just like you said.
Counters on both.
Attack in with the 2/2 Spirit Token, asking Reid if he wants to trade a Spirit Token and a Blazing Torch for Murder of Crows. There's no way he wants to make that trade.
Elder Cathar comes down for Todd. Explain why he doesn't want to make that trade.
I mean, that's 1/4 of Lingering Souls. It's only 1 Spirit Token and 1/4 of Travel Preparations. Murder of Crows is one of the most powerful blue creatures in the format.
So you want him to keep waiting and waiting until the Travel Preparations put more counters on the spirits in order to then trade at some future point?
Yeah, I mean, also trading at a future point is important because Murder of Crow's ability, when one creature dies, Reid is allowed to draw a card and discard a card is very important. Will help him find other answers to Lingering Souls.
Okay.
Further, right now, because Todd only has... Actually, it's an interesting play. Reid attacking into the 2/2 Flying Spirit. The Spirit can block it, and then, after blocking, use Blazing Torch to deal with the Murder of Crows. Reid must have something up his sleeve.
Has to represent something, right?
That's clearly what Todd's going to do. What does Reid have?
Todd is tapped out, so...
Ooh.
Right.
Geist Flame, flash it back.
Yeah. So
And
there
all
will be... The thing is, why would you sort of go for that as Todd? You can't imagine it's a straight bluff, can you?
You can't imagine a straight bluff, but you're not really risking too much there. You're risking the Blazing Torch, which is important. It's one of Todd's few
Blazing Torch
removal
and
spells.
a guy in exchange for leaving the Murder of Crows there. And that has to be what you expect the outcome to be.
But maybe Todd would rather Reid use his Geist Flame now as opposed to later.
Sure, fine.
Because if Reid had Geist Flame up for this turn and he flashback Lingering Souls and flashback Travel Preparation, Reid would be able to get one of those 1/1 Flying Spirit tokens.
All right, so Silver Chase Fox is up next for Todd.
And of course, Lingering Souls flashback for Todd as well.
So we go back up to 3 flyers for Todd, with 1 Travel Preparations in the graveyard, ready to flashback, and another in the deck.
Let's see what Reid can serve up here. There you get a good look at Reid, considering his decision for this turn. Obviously very important right now is that Murder of Crows. If Reid can get a couple of creatures to trade off with those spirit tokens, then Reid can dig deeper in his deck with Murder of Crows' ability, find more answers for Todd's creatures, create more of a board presence. And that's really what Reid's looking to do. Todd has to rely on sort of the cards he's got currently, the Travel Preparations in his graveyard, the Lingering Souls he's cast, maybe a creature or 2 off the top of his deck. Whereas Reid, with the blue deck, has more card manipulation.
As we see Deranged Assistant continue to build the graveyard.
And looks like rolling Tembler for
Take
Reid.
out Elder Cathar and Silver Chase Fox, and Reid's own Deranged Assistant.
So Todd's going to place a +1/+1 counter on the Spirit token that already has a +1/+1 counter. The more important thing about rolling Tembler is it allows Reid to draw a card, discard a card 3 times. So he'll have a lot of card manipulation, card selection at his disposal.
Mm-hmm. Of course, at 6 mana, rolling Tembler can flash back. So Island goes away. Here's Murder of Crows. Off we go again.
For the second of 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Island again goes away. Super loot.
Yeah.
3rd time.
It really allows Reid to sort of turn those extra lands he doesn't need into actual spells. It really shows the power of looting, both on Murder of Crows and Civilized Scholar, which Reid does not have, it looks like, but we saw him use to good use earlier on in the tournament. So Reid will end up discarding a final time a mountain.
And then Stormbound Geist.
That card is really, really good against Todd's Lingering Souls. We were talking about this earlier, but Stormbound Geist usually doesn't have the opportunity to block, but here it's got a perfect opportunity to block Todd's flyers.
Hasn't it just? And now this is where Todd has really got some thinking to do, because yes, he's got Reid to 12, but he's meeting fierce opposition, which is something he didn't really find with Shuhei Nakamura's deck, and then ultimately didn't find with Josh Ottolenghi in the decider of the semi-finals, where the Lingering Souls more or less did the business. Well, here is Requiem Angel for Todd.
Every time a non-spirit token goes to the graveyard for Todd, he gets a 1/1 flying spirit token.
That's pretty powerful.
I was talking to Matt Cost about that card earlier in the tournament, and I said, that card's very, very powerful. It's one of the most powerful cards in the set.
Yeah.
And he said, it would have been the best card in the set maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but now it's up there, but not the best card in the set. That's taken by either Huntmaster of the Fells or Sorin, Lord of Innistrad.
Or Lingering Souls.
Or Lingering Souls, as we can see here. But a Harvest Pyre for Reid Duke is going to take out that Angel.
Yes. And that's very much what we saw with Reid Duke against Lissa Jensen in the quarterfinals. How pretty much any time there was a significant threat, he had the answer. Here, the answer has been in the form of actual creatures. Against Lissa, it was mostly, here's an instant when I need it, here's a Brimstone Volley, and so on. Here's a Harvest Pyre.
Reid also gets another opportunity to draw a card, discard a card, thanks to Murder of Crows.
Elects to discard Invisible Stalker, so no 20-turn clock on his horizon. He's got no equipment.
He does have Fear of the Bitten, as you can see at the top of his graveyard, which he discarded early on in the game.
And also Spectral Flight, that's his other way. Now, Todd continues to make big things off the top of his library. This is a Kender Catch, straight up 6/6. That's big.
It's big, but I wonder how important it will end up being. I mean, Reid currently doesn't have any way to deal with it, but if he can provide some blockers for it, then Reid can try to get in through the air.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty reasonable from Todd, right? I mean,
yeah.
Reid will send the Murder of Crows, and 4 damage will come through, and then 5 mana.
Soul Caesar for Reid Duke, allowing him, if he is able to connect with the Soul Caesar, to take one of Todd's creatures.
That's one of the bigger ifs we've seen this weekend.
Yeah, it's tough, especially against Todd.
Quite a lot in the way.
Yeah.
Right now.
So Todd, it's interesting, he still hasn't used his travel preparations for flashback yet, keeping his spirit tokens, a couple of them, without +1/+1 counters. Maybe now he'll want to use it on the Kindercatcher to make it even bigger, but it's tough with that Stormbound Geist in the way. A 2/2 flyer really doesn't do too much, doesn't do as much as a 4/4 flyer would in this instance.
Sure. So Todd, 1 card in hand.
Actually, I think you're right. That Kindercatch has done a lot this match. That has done a lot to change this match. Todd sees that travel preparations in his graveyard. He's counting up damage, seeing where he wants his board to be in the following turns.
And arguably, Reid's looking for something like Chant of the Skiff saying here to just make it a -7/6, which would be much less of a concern, to put it mildly.
I think that's one of the few spells that Reid has to deal with the Kindercatch. Brimstone Volley only deals 5 damage.
Yeah.
Harvest Pyre could deal with it, but I believe Reid has used his only one.
Oh, it just has one, all right.
Yeah.
So now here is travel preparations, making Kindercatch 7/7. Even more of the reason for Chant of the Skiff saying that really nullify it properly. But,
also importantly, turning that spirit token into a 4/4, so it's able to trade with Murder of Crows.
So Kindercatch goes in at 7, and Reid is going to take it all and go to 5.
Reid has to have a plan here. I mean, it doesn't seem wise for him to trade off one of his creatures right now for Kindercatch, but dropping to 5 when his opponent's got a couple flyers, it's definitely risky.
So Reid looks at the board.
Considering his options.
With an expression pretty much identical to the way he looks at all stages of all games at every point in the tournament. It's just unflappable, and now he sends in Murder of Crows.
Offering a trade up for that spirit token.
Okay, so Todd goes to 12. What is Reid's plan? Has some sort of some possibilities with the Scarb. There goes Screeching Scarb. Murder of Crows gets sent to the graveyard amongst that double graveyard interaction. Todd at 12, Reid at 5, Kindercatch 7/7.
Looks as though Todd drew another land that turn.
Yeah, certainly a forest on the right of that hand.
So Todd really has to play on the strength of the cards he has in play. He's expended all of the resources he had in his graveyard, flashing back both Lingering Souls and travel preparations.
Yeah. So he's had full value from it.
Whereas Reid still has a number of cards in hand, getting a lot of card selection off of his Murder of Crows earlier in this game. Todd taking a look at the other side of Soul Caesar. To me, it doesn't seem like Soul Caesar will be transforming anytime soon.
And by soon, we mean ever.
Yeah. Kindercatch will get in.
And Screeching Skull will just bite the dust. One of the reasons, again, point for perhaps more inexperienced players at home, one of the reasons that big monsters aren't necessarily great monsters without the word trample. Kindercatch with trample, gigantic threat. Even so, right now, it's still, let's get rid of the creature. So, by no means terrible, but trample is a gigantic keyword in Magic.
Yeah, in an ideal world, Reid would be wanting to trade away ground creatures to Kindercatch and getting in for damage in the air, as he's been doing the past couple turns. Again, he offers up this trade between Murder of Crows and some Spirit tokens.
Still not, so Todd now goes to 8.
I mean, Todd has to be a little bit worried if he trades off one of his Spirit tokens, then maybe Reid can do something to the other Spirit tokens, get in with Soul Caesar, take his Kindercatch, and be in real trouble. I'm not confident if Todd knows if there's not a second Geist Flame in Reid's deck. If there were, that would be a reason not to trade away.
3 cards now for Anderson. He has comfortably the largest creature on the board. He has a substantial air force. And yet, as we've seen time and again this weekend, when Reid looks like he's in trouble, he keeps games going.
Reid really doesn't like to give up. He always wants to play the game out to the end, make sure that there's nothing he could have done in order to win. A very methodical player.
So,
another reason why he's not offering up the trade is if Todd were to draw one of his removal spells, I believe he's got a Burden of Guilt, then he can tap one of the flyers and get in with one of his many flyers. Reid's only at 5 life.
So, Todd is doing one of those half attacks. The one where you turn the Kindercatch Sowers because you know you want to. And then, am I sending these in? Well, no. So Reid is going to confront a gigantic man. The Soul Caesar gets in the way.
There's no... He needs to block there or else obviously Reid's dead.
So,
and
losing land, and then Kessig Recluse.
That's really good for Todd.
Yeah.
Reid really needs an answer to that Kindercatch, and quickly. Maybe a Chant of the Skiff Sang.
Yeah.
He's been able to look at a fair amount of his deck, but...
So Nefali Sea Kite end of turn from Reid. It's interesting, I see he's got a Lost in the Mist, but not main deck. He's got one in the sideboard, and that's a card that might come in handy at some point.
Reid is representing lethal damage right now, but of course the Spirit tokens that Todd Anderson has can be put in the way to make sure that Reid doesn't deal the final 8 points of damage. It's much more devastating Todd's Kindercatch to Reid. So Reid doing some math here, trying to figure out if he can afford to get in again with Murder of Crows.
Oh, Moon Heron leaves just one mana open. It's a mountain. And he passes the turn. Todd looking and looking. It's getting tight here at the end of game 1.
Todd asks Reid how many cards are left in his library. He's done so much looting using the Murder of Crow's ability to draw and discard a card that looked as if he only had about 10 cards left in his library. I don't think that will end up being too relevant this game. Pretty sure Todd's going to win on damage.
Kindercatch comes in, had the Moon Heron, which recently appeared. I mean, the thing is, here's Reid with this formidable air force. He's going to... right, okay, so he's going to triple block the Kindercatch.
2-for-1 for Reid Duke, and if Todd had some sort of pump spell, it's possibly devastating.
But Reid's at the point where he needs this to stick.
Yeah.
So he just goes, well, I need this to stick, so let's see whether your 2 cards are anything good or not.
If Todd has a pump spell, he's dead anyway, so there's no reason not to give it his all. So Todd deciding which order he wants the blockers to go and which creatures he wants to kill. And looks like he's going to destroy Murder of Crows and Moon Heron.
So Nephalia Sea Kite remains in play for Reid. Kindercatch is gone. Kesser Recluse, 1/1 spirit, 1/1 spirit, 4/4 spirit, now the dominant force in the air. Though that said, a double block would be good for Reid, not that he's likely to be able to have that luxury just on life. We see continued Murder of Crows activations from Reid. On the other side, Reid has Stormbound Geist and Nephalia Sea Kite. Still no undying from the Stormbound Geist. It's been there a long, long time. Reid checks, looks like an opening hand of 7 left in his library. So he draws for the turn.
Reid's seen most of his deck, so he should have access to pretty much whatever he brought to the table. Likely what he really needs is something like a Brimstone Volley to take out the Kessig Recluse, and then he's fighting on somewhat of a tilted playing field against the Spirit Tokens, though he does have that Stormbound Geist to put in the way of the 4/4 Spirit Token a couple times.
So this is Deranged Assistant, which seems less than thrilling.
But it looks like Todd just continues to draw land, so he's playing again with the cards on the table. So Todd again thinking over his attacks, and looks like is he going to attack with all of his creatures? It seems likely that he'll attack with the 4/4 Spirit and the Kessig Recluse.
That looks like exactly what the plan is, with a couple of 1/1s back. And Reid now busy on the business of trying to stay alive.
Yeah, Reid has to figure out, which blocks give me the best chance of winning? What can I draw my next turn? How will that play out in the following turns? And he has to go through those different lines of play, figure out which one's best.
Well, he is going to go with double block land. So Nephalia Sea Kite goes, the big 4/4 threat goes, Reid falls to 3. He's still in there fighting.
Giving it his all. Reid takes his turn.
He is running out of time in so many ways.
Yeah, both he's running out of cards in his deck, and he's running out of life points.
We're going to see something that costs 5.
Ooh.
Falconrath Marauders, and in they come. And so Todd is going to put both tokens in the way by the looks of things, in a bid to kill off the Marauders. That is his choice. And he would then take 2 damage from the Stormbound Geist.
Then Reid's likely to throw the Deranged Assistant in the way of Kessig Recluse on Todd's following turn.
So 3 plays 6. Reid passes the turn.
It's actually really important now, because if Todd attacks him with Kessig Recluse, maybe Reid doesn't block. Maybe Reid keeps his 2 creatures back, deals 3 to Todd, and then
Makes
burns
it 3
him out.
each, and Brimstone Volleys for the win.
I'm not sure if that's in Reid's hand, but that's definitely what he has to be thinking. He hasn't drawn Brimstone Volley yet. He has got maybe 5 or 6 cards left in his library.
And Todd just passes the turn, does not attack with the Kessig Recluse.
Makes sense. He wants to be able to block that Stormbound Geist.
Another Stormbound Geist from Reid. Todd draws, he's drawn another land. Lays 1. Now what?
He's counting up his mana.
That Kindercatch was enormous. And for turn after turn it abyssed Reid.
Yeah. Every single turn, Reid pretty much had to sacrifice a creature, block the Kindercatch in order to stay alive.
And eventually, a triple block was a final 2-for-1 for Todd. Reid now with a pair of Stormbound Geist
2 mountains in hand.
I think that was him just flicking around. Is it 2 mountains?
Yeah.
Okay. So back comes one Stormbound Geist.
Ooh.
There's Brimstone Volley. Just a bunch of land for Todd. And like that, Reid leads. Wow. He's been doing that all weekend. The man just doesn't lose.
Yeah, I think the really important part in that game was the murder of crows that Reid Duke got early on in the game that allowed him to draw and discard through much of his deck. It allowed him to get deep in his deck, play many more spells than Todd ended up playing. Todd also, to be fair, drew quite a few number of lands.
Yeah.
But Reid had a ton more draw steps to his disposal.
Yes, Reid made sure he didn't draw lots and lots of lands.
The lands he did draw, he discarded.
And of course, that's one of the deals with green-white. It's that once things start going, it's very hard to disrupt. You can put pressure on in combat, but it's very hard to reach out directly and touch the opposing creatures.
So
1-0 to Reid Duke here in the final. But we've had quite the weekend here. 15 rounds of Swiss brought us to a top 8 bracket, and there you see the top 8 playing out. So Alyssa Jensen ended up with a 3-color mid-range deck. Was kind of the victim of a lot of people competing for white-green, and Reid Duke was pretty comfortable in winning that quarter by 2-0.
It was sort of unfortunate for Lissa. She had a group of pros, people like Patrick Chapin, advising her about how to draft, and they pretty much said, go green-white. It's going to be the most straightforward thing for you to draft. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, where she was sitting, she was seated around players that were drafting green, drafting white, and she didn't really get the cards she needed, so she moved into blue, but then she got cut again. I think that was sort of at fault because Shuhei's deck was such a train wreck.
Sure, so Reid Duke defeated Lissa by 2-0. Same side of the bracket, Carl Babin, with his Black-Red Vampires, he had 10 vampires in his deck, up against Robbie Cordell with Black-White Humans. Cordell opened up with Thraben Doomsayer, but passed Lingering Souls, and he felt that was awkward, but there's no way he's passing Thraben Doomsayer, was the way he put it. Liked the archetype he was in, but Kyle emerged from that one 2-1. Do you see any of that one at all?
I saw just the tail end of the third game.
All right, so Babin then advanced to face Reid Duke. On the other side of the bracket, we began with Todd Anderson with the green-white aggro deck we're seeing here in the final, up against the black-blue-green self-mill for Shuhei Nakamura, the Bado Deco, as Shuhei called it. And he, honestly, when the time he'd finished drafting, it kind of looked like 3 random booster packs that had been shuffled together.
He had 5 colors.
There were colors all over the place. He had lots in every color. It really was a very tough draft for Shuhei. And in a sense, no surprise that Todd advanced on deck, apart from anything else, in that quarter. And that left us with Josh Utter-Layton against Caleb Durwood, a real hard luck story for Caleb. 3 weeks running now, he has played on Sunday evening for a place on the Pro Tour, and he has been games away. And 2 weeks ago, a Pro Tour qualifier, lost in the final. 1 week ago, Grand Prix Indianapolis, top 8, lost in the quarterfinal. And now here you see, with Red-Green Werewolves again, lose in the quarterfinal. So Josh Utter-Layton advanced in that one, which brought us to Anderson up against Josh Utter-Layton. And I was really surprised, truthfully, with the way that this one played out. I really felt Josh had, with his 8 2-drops, would really have come bursting out of the gates and would probably have had too much for Todd. It did not play out like that, then.
No, Todd Anderson was able to use, as you saw in this previous game, Lingering Souls and Travel Preparation really do to make quick work of Josh Utter-Layton's 2-2s for 2. And it was quite the blowout in Todd's favor in that match we saw.
So then, who would Todd Anderson face in the final? Well, as we know, it was Reid Duke, the red-blue self-mill, taking on black-red vampires for Kyle. And in that one, Reid Duke emerged the winner by 2-0 to set up this final, which you've seen a pretty lengthy and interestingly swung game 1, where it looked like Todd Anderson was going to get there with a giant kinder catch. but eventually Reid Duke, with all his milling action off Murder of Crows, was able to get the job done. So he is one game away from a Grand Prix title. And 3 turns from Todd Anderson with nothing doing opposite Deranged Assistant is early advantage to Reid.
Ooh, and I saw Falcon Wrath Marauders that Reid just drew off the top, so if Todd continues to do nothing and Reid's able to fire that off quickly, that might be a quick game. Unfortunately, though, it seems that Reid doesn't have a second mounted to take advantage of it.
Abbey Griffin is turn 4 for Todd, and he's saying, is it dead?
Ooh, again.
It's, bone to ash. Again, same as in game 1.
Reid Duke passes with what looks like 3 mana up, but is really 4 mana up, and Todd walks right into bone to ash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got to play something, so...
That's
true. He just passed it. Oh, hello! Falcon Wrath Marauders. In it comes. Counters on. Emergency Todd Anderson.
Ooh, but Todd just drew a Crushing Vines, which can take care of the 2/2 flyer.
Ah, that's nice.
For the 4/4 flyer.
Yeah. That was critical. Because that really was emergency action stations for Todd Anderson there. He got through 4 turns with functionally playing nothing.
But Murder of Crows for Reid Duke allows him to put more power on the board. Another flyer also.
Advantage to Reid again.
But Todd counters with a flyer of his own.
Gallows Warden. First time we've seen that in the top 8 on camera.
The 3/3, though, seems like it will lose the 4/4 Murder of Crows, but...
Certainly this turn it's not going to get involved.
I saw a travel preparation in Todd Anderson's hand, which he can use if he really needs to this turn to pump up the Gallows Warden. I suspect that he'll end up playing another creature and using travel preparation perhaps on a later turn.
It's a 3-man Sentry. So 4 mana for an unexciting 2/2, but it does get a lot better once it transforms. Here is the travel preparations. I wonder whether... Now, this is interesting. I wonder whether Reid wooded in Lost in the Mist.
Ooh, that'd be quite the blowout here, being able to counter travel preparations. Maybe bounce one of those creatures to Todd's hand.
I mean, he's passed with 5 mana open.
Geist Flame.
Okay, so we're going to go Geist Flame and flash it back. Ooh, but no.
Hunger of the Howl Pack.
Denied. And that is a big swing back towards Todd Anderson. Counters are plenty, so Reid did have action with his 5 mana. It was Geist Flame and flashback. But now, counters on the go for Todd.
Gallows Warden now able to compete with that Murder of Crows, and the 4/4 Thraben Sentry threatening a 7/6 Thraben Sentry, or Thraben Militia.
Yeah, eek.
Yeah.
Well, Reid sends. Puts Todd to 10. Reid reluctant to give up the aggressive roll. Passes the turn. Interesting.
Reid must have something up his sleeve.
Looks like a Chant of the Skiffsang in hand for Reid. That will not be occurring at instant speed. Here's Travel Preparations Part 2. That's French. And...
There we go.
Ta-da!
Lost in the Mist. Counter travel preparations and bounce Gallows Warden back to Todd Anderson's hand.
Does happen now. Todd does have the ability to replay.
Gallows Warden, but it's lost all of the +1/+1 counters it gained from travel preparations.
It looks like Galvanic Juggernaut's the other card in hand for Todd.
So Todd has a decision to make here whether or not he wants to cast the Juggernaut or recast the Gallows Warden.
You see more information given to Reid this way.
Yep, as Todd casts that Galvanic Juggernaut.
So, does Reid send his Murder of Crows in once again? Put Todd to 6.
Also, what does Reid do with that Curse of the Skiffsang? Or Chant of the Skiffsang?
Yeah.
Does he want to place it on the Thraben Militia? Want to place it on the Galvanic Juggernaut?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Thraben Sentry.
Sentry right now. He is going to Spectral Flight, his deranged assistant.
Oh, wow.
And come flying
Brimstone
in.
Volley.
And Brimstone Volley gets the job done. Reid Duke is your Grand Prix champion. Wow. Wow, that is awesome. We're going to get Reid Duke over here to talk about that. That is startling.
Congratulations to Reid Duke, Grand Prix Nashville 2012 champion.
Was he going to come in with his Murder of Crows? He certainly was. He was going to spectral flight to the air. And then Brimstone Volley for the win. He didn't lose at all.
There you go. You see, Reid Duke defeats Todd Anderson to become the champion.